I'm Lazarus. Thanks for tuning in. I'm a guitarist. I'm a dad. I'm a regular human being. That's why we're doing this podcast. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we have
What up, everybody? My name is Ryan Carlisle. I am I'm also a fellow musician, business owner, entrepreneur, and and now a podcast maker with my pal Laz here. And our goal is to just talk about normal stuff, normal dad stuff, normal business stuff, things in the media, things that interest us, and our goal is to just be relatable and try to spread the word that dudes have cool stuff. We like to talk about cool stuff. We love our families and there's a lot to be talked about.
right on, right on. How's your day, man?
It was good. We're working a project right now for my security business that's really drawing out. It's a big building. It's oh gosh, it's almost 1 million square foot. Of course, they want the project done 2 months ago. And this building was built in the middle of a cornfield. Actually, it's over by your house.
Okay.
It's right off in the middle of nowhere. We joke about it, the castle built in the swamp, because anytime it rains, we can't get there. And lately, it's been raining. My guys were sick over the weekend, but they still came in today and worked a little bit. I ended up sending them home. They were just, you could tell they were just zonked.
Yeah.
So uh, work was good. It's always stressful. I prefer the smaller jobs are nice because it's a quick turnaround. These are just dragging. We've been on this project since I think this end of November. So it's a lot. It has a nice reward, but it's a lot of work, man.
No, I bet. I
So
bet. I drive by it, so it looks like a big warehouse, big
yeah,
building. So you're installing a lot of equipment in there, a lot of wiring. So, and it kind of sucks because it kind of falls into. I'm not saying you're construction, but whenever it
yeah,
rains, like the
it's
normal
rough.
thing to do is to, send everybody home, right? Is that a
Yeah.
liability thing?
Well, that and it's a nightmare. Construction consists of, 90% sweeping for most trades. So when it's muddy and you have to walk across the parking lot full of like that kind of mud that like the more steps you take, it's like a snowball but with mud. And you're carrying all your tools, your ladders, your fittings, all your stuff, boxes of wire. It's like walking through a a quicksand trench. By the time you get to the building, everybody's used that little foot kicker to clean their shoes, and it's just a mound of mud, and then you're tracking mud everywhere, and it gets all over your lift. Because we're these are 40-foot ceilings, we're working up in the air, and by the end of the day, or even the beginning of the day, you're exhausted just trying to get in the building. Um, so yeah, that's some of the obstacles, and then the earth movers that are there trying to make the parking lots and stuff happen, they got stuck in the mud. So they had to call out their guys to come unstuck them. And so we lost about a week and a half. Plus, we took 2 weeks off in December,
Mm-hmm.
which they weren't aware of when we did that. But, heaven forbid we take some time to be with our families. It's not acceptable in the corporate world.
Yep.
But, we took time off. And so we're a little behind the eight ball. That's where most of the stress is coming from. I've been sleeping all right, but day was okay. It felt like another Monday, Monday number two. Today's Tuesday.
Yep.
Um, and it's probably gonna be like that. We'll probably end up working Saturday a little bit to try to pick up some time, but we're supposed to be wrapped by Friday. There's no way it's happening.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep working. I mean, all we can do is push on. It's
Definitely.
business. It's no one really cares what you do until you don't do it. And then you got to hear it from seven different bosses, the same thing. That's I It's funny. That's why I started my own business back in '06 was to be on my own. I didn't agree with rules and corporate the corporate rules and waking up at 3 in the morning to count my inventory when I could just give it to you at the end of the day and sleep through the night. And I have clashed heads with a lot of people, and that kind of, I felt like I never really fit in the industries, any industry, until I started being on my own, and I realized, oh, I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be on my own, and I'm supposed to find like-minded people to help me
Yep.
along the way. I
Yep.
got a great crew.
There's nothing like running your own business.
Yeah.
Uh, I've done it myself too, doing the whole insurance and the
Hmm.
PNC world. So I can definitely relate being like an independent agent.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
there's nobody tell there's a double-edged sword there. Like
yeah.
nobody's telling you to work hard. You have to
Right.
do it on your own because if you
Yeah.
don't work, you don't get paid. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
For the younger crowd, it's the equivalent of when you're in high school. People care if that you go and your attendance principal, and everybody knows if you're there or you're not. When you go to college, they don't care if you show up. And same thing if you're in business for yourself. If you're not working, uh, you're not making any money. If you're not establishing relationships with people, you're not making any money. Uh, and that's really the I I think I talked to you about this. I come from just not wanting to be I wasn't good in school. I realized that I enjoyed relationships too much at a young age, and I just hung out with all my buddies. And my senior year in high school, I was like, what am I doing? I'm never going to graduate. I'm going to go to work. And that's how, that leads me to, the band I had. That leads me to that whole story of how I met, the guys. I met the band and started doing that. And his dad owned an alarm company, and I worked for that company for years, many, many years. Learned everything I know from that place. And then finally in '06, I decided to take a leap, get an LLC. Original LLC was an acronym for something that's kind of hilarious, and I realized I can't be taken seriously with that acronym. I have to change it. So,
it's like
my
those our first emails that we had when we
oh
first.
yeah, it's like Booty Slayer
Yep.
69.
Yep.
We didn't even know what we were
Exactly.
talking about. It just
So
sounded
you
great.
put that on an application.
Yeah, yeah, right. Hi, is this Booty Slayer
Oh man.
69 at Hotmail?
I remember working at the in the banks, and you know you're asking people as you're going through the application, like, yeah, hey, what's your phone number? You type that in, and then you're like, well, what's a good email for you? And they'd be like, you know, baby girl six
So
oh
all
two.
weird.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all, and it's
Underscore.
there's been a few of them that they were like embarrassed to even tell me. I'm like, why are you hesitating?
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna laugh at me, and then
We have to,
it's exactly one of them emails. I was like, if you want to open up an email right now, like you can literally do it like really quick nowadays.
they have to preface it. Well, this is an email I've had a long time, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a
Exactly.
good one.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, no, I stayed in the security business. I've tried a lot of different avenues when I was coming up. I've tried the telesales, telemarketing. My brother was in telecom. And I kind of admired his footsteps. So I still did alarms in the mornings and afternoons, and I learned about telesales. And this was back when like MCI WorldCom was a thing. My brother was a high up there. He was the same way. He was just kind of an entrepreneur spirit. He didn't fit in that corporate world, but I guess he had to roll with the corporate world like most of us don't necessarily agree with. Like now I work hand in hand with national accounts. We're contractors for, a major corporation that nationwide that gives us work in Arizona, and it's all because of relationships. So they have unreasonable expectations, but I'm used to that because that's kind of where I'm from. But I don't push that on my guys. I always tell my guys, this is why we don't punch a clock. Just let's do something fun, either midday, whatever. Let's get ahead of our schedule. Let's do something fun and remind ourselves why we don't punch clocks.
Yep.
And that kind of helps the morale. Really, I try to be more of I don't I don't want to come off as we're not equals, but it's more of let's work together on this project. Even though I'm the leader, I'm gonna I'm gonna treat you like you and I are coming up together. And I think that creates even though I'm an OG, been doing this 31 years in this industry, I treat my guys like, we're partners.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't talk to them like they don't call me their boss. I don't like that.
You've
Um,
created that culture in
yeah,
your small business.
yeah. I don't. I've never been. I never. I don't talk down to people. Definitely. I kind of try to treat people with respect. Um, that doesn't mean that I'm, a pushover, but um, I just know how I like relationships to be, even with my wife of 22 years. Um, if I was a sassy boy to her, I wouldn't be sitting here, man. She's a firecracker, but she's my firecracker. And, and I know how to, I always joke with him, like, no one in this world would know how to handle you, but that's all right. That's all right. It's not anybody else's job. But, I treat her with respect, and that carries over into
It really
business.
does. They want to. Your workers will want to work for
Yeah.
you, work for
Yeah.
the business. You
Yeah.
know, more happy, more
For
content,
sure. Yeah.
rather than rather than them waking up. Oh, I have to go to work now and work
Yeah.
for Ryan,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's he gonna yell at me about today? That's
Yeah.
worse. That's
Yeah.
worse.
I never liked being yelled at or talk. In fact, when people yell at each other on the job sites, we kind of look at each other and laugh like, man, that's miserable.
Hmm.
I don't yell at my wife. We don't fight with each other. We have a disagreement. We talk about it, and it's never my intention. And I usually lead with that.
Hmm.
It seems to work. It's not my intention that I made you mad. I just sometimes I say stuff quickly because I problem solve all day at work. And I also say this without mansplaining because that's
Hmm.
also something you don't want to do to your wife. So, but it's my intention wasn't to make you upset. This is just my day is just I'm out of patience, and I'm trying not to let that come home with me. So it wasn't my intention. And that's usually because I don't have the track history of coming home and
Yeah.
making
Dif-
the angry dad face and
diffuses
you
the
know
situation, whatever it
spin
is.
kicking the dog across the room and slamming a six pack of beer before someone can talk to me. Like I've been in that environment as a younger guy. My father that passed away when I was 8. He my the guy that raised me basically, not this guy. He was like that. He was very much so like he was a journeyman or master electrician at Palo Verde, from the 80s. Those guys were
Hmm.
wild. Those guys were cowboys. Like they drank like machines on the way to work and on the way back. Like I've heard these stories about him and his pals carpooling out there 2 hours each way. And so, I was 8 years old, so I didn't really have a relationship. But I do remember those days, and I was like, I will never do that. And thankfully my mom remarried a remarkable dude that's just taught me work ethic and brought me up in the church. That's actually what led me to be a musician. Is I was going to church uh, forcibly as a young guy, twice on Sundays and once on Wednesdays,
I'm there with
and I
you.
was
I was dragged.
so yeah, dude, and I was so bored, and I didn't understand it. I was young. My mom had just freshly remarried, and I was 9 or 10 years old, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it, just it felt repetitive. And they were always, as parents, as you know now, we always feel like we want to do the best things. We feel like we want to try to make the best decisions, but really we don't know what we're doing at all.
Yep.
Same thing. I think it was just a different version. And so for me to get through those days, I walked up to this big old drummer. His name was Tony, and I said, "Hey, do you think you could teach me how to play drums or percussion?" And so he went and asked my parents if he could take me to his church that he played at most of the time. And he taught me. He showed me everything I know. Taught me all off beats first. Like he was originally one of the drummers for James Brown in the late '60s.
Got a
Just
lot of
a
funk.
roadie drummer, super funky. Yeah, this lovable giant man, and I took a liking to him. And then, you know, being also in Christian schools, I was in choir. My mom forced me to be in choir, and that led to school plays and stuff like that. Well, that leads to a lot of later on in life rebellion. I think most kids that are you probably went down most kids go down a path of like, well, now I want to actually be a mischievous kid because I want to know what this is about, so
There's always that little. I mean, me growing up
yeah,
in the church, also, there's always for some reason, there's always a segment in somebody's young life that rebels. Call it like a rebellious,
Yeah,
time in somebody's like season in life.
yeah,
I know I went through it myself too. I
mm,
separated myself from the church. I was angry at my parents. Uh,
yeah.
there
I
was
think
a
that's
lot.
age appropriate. You
I
know.
mean, there was a lot going on in my family at the time. Parents arguing left and right.
Mm,
The word divorce is getting left.
mm,
Thrown left and right. My parents are not divorced. They're one of those couples that you
that's
know
good.
through thick or thin. You know what I mean?
Didn't
Like,
throw it away. Yeah,
yeah, but there's definitely more to talk about on that, just because it's turned me into the man that I am today.
for sure.
But yeah, everybody that I know for the most part, in the Christian world,
Mm,
goes through a season like that.
absolutely, man.
It might
And
not just be in the Christian world. I'm just saying Christian because that's what I'm familiar with. I don't know
yeah,
if Buddhists go through that or not, but they
yeah,
could. I don't
man.
know. They could.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's taught me a lot of. It's taught me a lot of. I guess practicing grace with with all religions. Really, I have lots of friends that are different, this, that, and the other. In fact, I taught martial arts for a while, and this guy I would teach. I forgot exactly what the time frame was, but he would. It didn't matter if we were in the middle of talking. He would stop. He would get out his prayer mat, and he would face. I think it was east, and I would just very respectfully wait. And I'm cool with that. Like that's cool to me because that's something that you're into. I respect it. Who am I to say? Who am I to say that? Hey, man, you're doing it wrong. This isn't the drive-through with the drop off at the kids. The
Hmm.
kids' school. It's the world is a massive place, and there's not enough love in the world. So I think that's something I learned from my parents. That my father, that I call him, is Russell's his name. I call him my pops. Like he basically, you know, taught me that ethic of just to love people, regardless, of their belief systems, the way they are. If you don't like somebody, that's fine. You just don't have to mess with them, and that carries over into my business too.
That's good.
I don't like a lot of people in the industry because they're different and they're mean and they're this, that, and the other. So I just don't mess with them. It's I just don't waste the energy. And
I
the
can
small
relate.
circle, yeah, the small circles we keep, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah, I can. I
Like
can relate.
getting to know you, man. Like it's been, uh, I always talk about you to my wife about my Laz is like, he'll out of nowhere, he'll just drop this just amazing, like nonchalant, hey man, I just came up with this little old ditty. And I'll just be like looking at my phone like that stank musician face, like, how did you do that? Like that's next level. Like I'm like this guy, and over the years, from being around each other, I didn't, I think I met you, obviously I met you through Nate, my guitar player, from Halogen, and I wasn't really sure where that circle came in, or, happened. But you've always kind of been there, man, and I always thought you were a super nice dude and super cool person to
I'll
talk to.
I'll tell you how I met Nate. I met him at Applebee's.
Oh, was he when he worked there?
That's when he worked there. So
Wow.
my circle of friends, I had the singer for my band, Mark, and then my good friends from high school all worked together.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Nate. That's how I got acquainted. And little by little, it was like, oh, you play music. Obviously
Yeah.
Nate was the more seasoned musician,
Right.
and at the time, he was always trying to work on a project, and something here locally like got off the ground for him, and that's how I kind of got myself mixed up
Yeah.
in the local music, because he's deep in the music, in the local music
Yeah.
scene. So everybody knows Nate.
Yeah, for sure. And such a talented guy. I know he gets really overwhelmed with his job, and I get it. Like it's hard, man. It's hard that you start to lose yourself and then you kind of have to go, what is it all for, man? Like this is why am I work I mean, I want to enjoy my family and my friends and my hobbies. I mean, obviously we have hobbies,
Yeah,
that
we
we're into.
got guitars, got
Yeah.
video game PCs. I got studio
Yeah.
monitors here.
A lot of
It's
this
hard to
stuff is your
balance
fault.
everything.
This is your fault. This high-end camera system and this, a lot of this like cloud lifter thing I've got over here, and
You're welcome.
but I love that kind of stuff, man. Like I'm a sponge for knowledge, and I learn it from literally watching and talking to people. Like I'm not book smart. So I'm from the streets. That sounds funny, but I really learned it. I learned that way. So that's cool. I met Nate. Funny story. So I was in my first band was called Hollow, and my current drummer was Wade, which I worked for his dad's company. We were in technicians together, and Lance was a bass player, uh, with that came with Hollow as well. And we had a girl named Nina. She was a German, like a foreign exchange student that worked at a bakery, and I still talk to her to this day. She's back in Germany. Super nice girl. Uh, Very broken English. I could still remember her saying, "Ryan, what does geek mean?" And I'd have to explain. She would learn the language as she heard it.
Yeah.
But so that band, eventually there was the singer's name was Ryan, as well. I was a singer and like a percussionist, so I would do congas and the tambourine. It was more of a gin blossomy vibe, kind of,
Love it.
fruity, fruity 90s music.
Alternative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alternative. And Ryan was he worked in the educational department at his school. He was a teacher, but he knew that circuit, so he would get us gigs at ASU, all these random places we'd play around. We got pretty big for a minute. Like we had a pretty good crowd, and that was also during the time in the '90s when you could go out on a Tuesday night and there'd be thousands of people just listening to live music, and everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
Uh, Electric Ballroom was a fantastic place to play Gibsons. These are all old school places, but
No, I know Electric Ballroom back when it was
yeah,
still a thing.
yep. And so, uh, that band eventually, I was kind of, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it that much. So we all kind of left together, and just went our separate ways for a while. And then I thought I was gonna not do music for a while. I was needed a break from it. And then I went to see Wade and Lance join this band called the Gins, and I went to go see them play. And as soon as I saw them on stage, there's a different version of this story, but I'm telling a podcast
All right.
rated PG story. But I went to go see them play at Mustang Sally's, which is another old school place, and I saw my boys up there, man. And the singer was a guy kind of wearing like high platform shoes, but he was really small, dude. Had a really high Geddy Lee voice. And those are my bros. And this guitar player was just up there shredding. Like the singer played a little bit of guitar, but the other guy, which was Nate,
Yeah.
just up there, just riff master. I'm like, who is this guy? He's got a good look, handsome dude. Like, he's got great energy with the crowd. And after they played, I walked up and I was like, we should all, the four of us, not that guy over there, but the four of us, can we meet up and like, can we talk about doing some music together? And Nate was like all over it. I don't know his story for real, but I don't think he was super happy there. Um, and I think that our vibe, we just vibed immediately. So we met at Wade's house in Paradise Valley. He lived right next door to Jenna Jameson, and his when his parents lived there in this
Mm-hmm.
huge mansion. Um, and so we met in this. They had green carpet, real bougie, green carpet with gold. I'll paint the picture. Wallpaper was bougie, green carpet, gold fixtures, boudets, which I didn't even know what that was. What's a boudet? It's for your boudet.
Yeah.
So we wrote our entire first album that day. That's that I still have the disc of in the attic. We Those were our mainstay songs. We wrote them in a row, consecutively with some beers. We set up in his living room. His parents were out of town. We had our own little jam session, and we brainstormed out that music. It was
Yeah.
crazy, and we immediately became brothers. And I miss those dudes. I mean, I still talk with Lance, and I still hear from Wade, and I still hear from Nate. But musically, we're all grown, and we have too much stuff
Families
going
and
on, man.
jobs and life.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I can carve out time. It's that saying when you choose to do something, you're choosing to not do something. So as long as I preface it, told the wife tonight, hey, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna start trial run. Let's do it.
Yep.
Let's figure it out. And for whatever reason, there's a connection with musicians and friends, and
Yep.
uh, that's kind of an unspoken bond. I think a lot of people share
It's
that same.
it's an energy, it's synergy, it's relatability, especially when it comes to like the connections, because music brings people together. But
Oh yeah,
man,
oh yeah.
like there's some experiences while playing music at shows that you can only live by
hmm
being there.
It's the machine. I
Yeah.
call it the. I can remember being on stage and not just being on stage as a singer, but watching other bands, and they're having that machine moment where they have put in the work and that they're just there and it's happening, and it doesn't matter. They cannot derail. They're
Mhm.
locked in. The crowd is locked in, and if that's that magical moment, that's that high that we
Mhm.
all lived, especially like coming up from the late 90s to mid 2000s as a musician. Like there wasn't a lot of special effects, so you had to be a decent band.
You
In fact,
actually
if
had
you were
to have
over,
showmanship, be
yeah,
have the chops.
yeah, and
Yeah.
if you sounded weird and you overproduced your album and someone came and saw you and you're like, they suck live. Like
Mhm.
we were kind of the opposite. We didn't come from a lot of money. We learned Pro Tools, the original Pro Tools, Lance did, and built a computer to run it. That's because this was like and we went through studios. Like that's how I met my wife was she dropped off some Supercross tickets at the studio. But we were paying all this money to these guys that didn't really care about our music. They were just they had three or
Yeah.
four bands just like us, and they wanted to just pump them out. And a lot of
Studio
times you
times, hours.
yeah. And you'd get the end of the product and it was like a board dump. You could tell they just went, just put it on there and let them hear it. And then if
Yep.
they like it, then we won't worry about it. We were always like, it sounds weird. It sounds like everybody's music's off on a hillside and and it was always, so some of the first stuff we ever recorded, we lost a lot of money too, but we learned how to do it all ourselves. And we had a house.
But that's a
That's,
learning curve though, because that happened to us in my project. We had I won't say names. We had a local guy. We went to go record with him, and
well, I
you
bet I
know,
could guess. Could I guess? I bet I could guess it.
I rather not say names, but local guy went to go record with him, and I guess it's a vision thing. Like you need to go to somebody that understands the genre. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
there's people that can play music and sound good while doing it, look good while doing it, but while them having like the ear or the production side of
Yeah.
things, some people just don't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an ear. It's kind of uh, like a painter. Like they either can paint
Yeah.
or you can't. You know, like they
Yeah.
have that touch. They
Can
have.
you can you imagine though if we had the technology and the platforms to reach people back when, like in the day when we were really coming up as dumb musicians that just wanted to perform? Like I remember trying to learn front page and stuff for websites and trying to get our Heineken sponsored us. I was trying to get Heineken onto our webpage,
Hmm.
and I had to write the code for it, the colors, the whole thing. It took like a half a day, and finally I like entered the button and like drug it over there, and I was like, oh, it works. And I called everybody, like, look at our website, dude.
It was definitely different times back then.
Yeah,
Now I think the effectiveness of social media, obviously it works. It
yeah,
creates some type of presence that you kind of need to have as nowadays as any band should have. But I think back in the day, whenever somebody like went to a show, they went down the rabbit hole to find.
oh yeah,
Oops, my alarm's going off here.
no,
The people just went down the rabbit hole to see what other content they can find. But what let it be a magazine, let it be a newspaper flyer.
hmm
Um,
that was when we'd go to the bathroom and read like a magazine. We would educate ourselves that way.
yep. Now
We didn't
that
have like all this information at once is so crazy. And we get we scroll. We're scroll masters,
mhm.
we're used to
now you
we have
got
that cadence.
now you got to create a piece of content to hopefully hold somebody's eyes for 10 seconds and attention for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it's got to be good.
it's got
Like
to be perfect. It feels
like
like.
it started with what was it? The Vines. It was 8-second videos,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're
and
talking
then
about. I never really
and that
got into it. I got,
yeah.
yeah, but I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
having a 15-year-old kid, growing up kind of in the internet, kid would come to me and be like, "Hey, Dad, check this out. This is hilarious." I'm like, "Where's the rest of the video?
No, that's it.
Why did they stop midway? Like, it's like this is how it is." And I'm like, "That's dumb. Like, well, I want to know what else happened. Like, how is that funny?" And then you cracking up, rolling around. I'm like, it's more funny because I'm like a boomer now, I guess, and these young G's, Gen Z's eyes, bro. But I'm like, listen, man, I'm a teenager in the '90s, and that sounds wild, but uh, we learned the hard way. We read stuff, you know.
I
Actually, I had to handwrite today for the first time, and I don't even know how long, and I felt weird. Like it's a what do you call it? It is a perishable skill, with a lot of things in this world, and reading instructions or learning how to do things when you can watch a video of some guy that was kind enough to make you the video. Just like even this camera setup, we watched a video. We didn't read. That's that's reading. Why would you want to read
mhm.
when you can watch somebody will talk you right through it? So that's the world's it's crazy,
It's
man.
definitely changed. I think my generation, like on paper, it says I'm a millennial, like one of the older ones. Um, but me and my wife talk about it all the time. Like,
Yeah,
we had cell phones, but we didn't have social media. Like
yeah,
we still, when we hung out with friends, we hung out with friends. We went to go watch movies. We hung out.
yeah.
We spent time with each other. Literally hung around bonfires, campfires.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that was the good times.
yeah, board games, that was still a thing. Skateboarding, the actual interact, like where we interacted with each other. It's kind of
Hmm.
crazy to see. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. You go to dinner and then you're on your phone, like like
Oh, I catch myself doing that all the time. Where my wife and I, you know, there's probably not a conversation we haven't had by now. So we do like catch ourselves like at dinner or we're at the table and I'm looking at I'm like, I don't want to do that.
yeah.
I'm like, so how was your day?
The good thing is that we catch it ourselves, but
Yeah,
there is a straight up addiction out there to
yeah,
phones, cuz like literally there's people that literally do this on their phone. They'll be talking, they'll grab their phone, they'll kind of tap it real
uh-huh,
quick, and then it's the same thing, that nothing
yeah,
happened, and then
yeah.
guess what happens 30 seconds later? They'll
Look
grab their
again.
phone, they'll
Yeah,
tap it to turn it on,
yeah.
nothing's there, and then
Oh, one of the worst distractions I have
it's
is this
weird.
watch. But like I think probably a couple times in our podcast today, it's vibrated and it's never anything important. It's usually like an email or a news pop up or something. But just like in the podcast, I can't. I have to look. I don't, it's like a neurological thing, where and even if I'm with a customer or if I'm on a job site and someone's actively talking to me and I go like this, it feels rude because I'm like, am I looking? They're talking and I'm looking at my phone, or I'm sorry, at my watch.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time for this. Like, her, wrap it up, partner.
I'll
And
I'll, t- I'll
and
tell
I'm
you
like,
this.
oh, I'm sorry, that was an email. It distracted me. And I try to say that. Sorry, I got distracted. It's an email. It rattled my phone, my
So
hand.
I had an Apple Watch for the longest time. It just literally died like 2 months ago. I haven't bought one just because. Have you seen the price of them? They're hella expensive. They're really
Whoa.
expensive.
Yeah, this is the seven. I think it's like a generation or two
I
behind.
had the first one and it literally lasted me till like 2 months ago.
Oh, that's great.
But I loved having it because it actually kept me off of my phone. Because I was in the business, selling insurance.
Yeah,
So like I was constantly, looking at my phone, sending a text message, sending an email through my phone or whatever. But then
yeah,
guess what happened when I finished that email? I'll jump on Facebook,
yeah.
Instagram. I'll lose productivity.
I've been at my in the mornings, my rituals in the morning. I get up, the coffee. I bring my wife coffee, kiss her good morning. I come in my studio office. I sit here and I check my emails, and then I know I'll bring up I have this 49 or 50-inch screen here.
Hmm.
I'll bring up Facebook and I'll chuck it over there, and I'll have something else over here, and then I sit here like this.
While you have those two.
Yeah, I'm looking at my phone instead, and I look up and I'm just like, why are we like this? I have this massive screen I had to
Yeah.
have, the big, cool. I had three screens at one point, and I liked this sleek design. Plus, it floats, and I'm bougie with equipment as you are, and so that's why we're like horribly great friends together because we're terribly awesome influences on each other. That's a great
Yep.
band name, terribly awesome.
Yep.
Because our habits and hobbies are the same. We both enjoy top-notch things.
Technology and
Technology is great.
gadgets.
I'm a I'm a gadget security guy for forever, so I'm always testing stuff out. I got 20 something 15 million cameras on my house of different kinds, and I can't sell it unless I've tried it. So,
And I'm a
oh, I
musician, so I'm addicted to buying equipment. So,
yeah. Yeah, you can't see them, but I got like 7 or 8 bases on the wall, and
yeah.
that was a bored COVID thing. I've been a singer and drummer my whole life, but I really really enjoyed listening to the bass. It just always made me happy. And I don't have the riffs to play the guitar. I can play like the cowboy strings, cowboy chords,
Hmm.
but I never really learned. I don't know how to read music. So during COVID, I got bored, got a bass. Actually, borrowed one of Nate's basses from one of his bands that he played bass in.
Is it
Um,
the crazy, the black one? The
it was that like Franken bass, like it
Yeah.
was like just it had like a chain as a
Yep.
like a chain as a strap,
Yep.
and I took it home, I plugged it in, and I fell in love with the bass. I was like, this is like drumming with your fingers, and I understood it. Then now I needed to teach myself how to read music or at least understand music. So I bought whatever the app was, Musician, and now the big one for me is Songster. That's another one I would like to talk about when we can talk about hobbies. In fact, I'll bring that up when we get into that. But with because I'm like a fraudulent musician. I can sing and I can drum, so that's like I'm like, I was a singer my whole music career, so I had a microphone to carry around, but I wasn't the singer. I didn't suffer from LSD, the lead singer disease. I helped everybody carry load in, load out.
That's good to hear.
Many a times I took the drums home for Wade or back in the day when, you know,
After a show.
after a show, I had the truck. He had a Corvette. It was basically on me, every time for a long time. And then he got into SUVs and Hummers and stuff. But he was the same way. He had a love for fancy things at a young age when we couldn't yet. We didn't have we call it adult money now. We didn't have adult money, but he had a good well, his dad, that company that I worked for, they were very he turned that company into a really profitable business. I worked there for a long time, but at a certain point you can't make any more money working for
Yep.
somebody, so you got to either go,
That's
well, I'm
well.
either going to learn how to budget or I'm going to go make that stripper money. So
It's the
I chose the
financial
stripper life.
freedom. Like I mentioned earlier before, there's nothing like actually running a business. I don't think anybody would actually understand the risk that it's involved. It's probably what it actually keeps a lot of people from
Yeah,
starting a business. The uncertainty of income.
it's terrifying. Yeah.
Is my business idea actually going to take off?
I can
Like,
tell you, you're gonna probably be stressed out for 3 years
oh
and
yeah,
think like you got to jump ship. That you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it.
yep,
You're gonna have that uncomfortable conversation with your family and like, hey, you got to hold off on buying that right now.
yep, yep.
Doing we
Change
got
your
some things
habits and your
happening.
lifestyle, and
Yeah, and that stuff still happens, man. I mean, we've got projects in the queue, but we have huge projects that haven't paid, and it's like we have to finish the huge projects, and so you see your ebbs and flows of your bank account sometimes, and you're like, holy crap! If I didn't have faith in all of this, and I would be terrified. I'd be not sleeping, but I just know
hmm
that you just have to basically just send it. Get up every day, whether you're working or not, put on those work boots
Yep.
and
Yep.
just work. You
You
know,
said
just
something right now that like for the first 3 years, that's completely correct. Because I've seen like myself when I started selling insurance. This was over 10 years ago. Um, it was scary because I'm starting to get myself into a market where like I had a little bit of experience being in the banking on the banking side, but at this point
mm,
you're selling a different product. But now you're trying to find a network of people that are going to send you business and referrals,
yeah,
and you're on commission only. So it gets really scary really fast, especially when your first paycheck was maybe like $200, if that, on
yeah,
commissions,
yeah,
and you're like, you literally kind of start biting your nails as like, is this
yeah.
really what's happening?
And your format for business changes. Like my first
Yep.
format was well, what I need to do is get a bunch of alarm customers. Well, and not sell them as a contract. That's a whole other side of the story, but or a whole other segment. But uh, I wanted to keep them what they call in-house, so I get reoccurring monthly revenue from each customer, and it's not a lot of money, but it adds up. So the first customer was going to make me $20, and that was, that after paying all of the pass-through fees and the things that you pay for. And so I was like, well, we got a customer, and now we need like a 500 to 1,000 more of those.
Yep.
And even to this day, I've been doing this since that format has changed. We do a lot of automation and camera work now. I have some alarm customers, but I have like 150 accounts. And that's just, it's nice to have. It's always growing and fluctuating. People come and go. But we don't do contracts. I don't believe in locking people into a contract. It holds me accountable as a business, and it gives them an old school vibe. So like, you're not just a number to me. I know I don't want you to feel like you're locked in for 3 years. If you're not happy, you should be able to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, you do get people that don't pay their bills because they're not under contract. So it kind of changes the format to where you get to pick and choose your customers. You find your, just like friendships. You find,
Insurance world too.
yeah, in friendships you find quality friends, and some of them aren't turn out to be quality, and you don't you kind of fire them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're not the people that you would want to associate with, and that doesn't mean they're bad people. They just don't fit into that strategy, for life or
Yep.
for
No,
what.
that falls into the insurance world too. When I first started, everything was game. I'm like, I'll write any business, good business, bad business,
Yeah,
just to get numbers in and all that. But over the years, you get the luxury of actually choosing your customers.
hmm,
People start referring you, and just based off conversations during the whole application side of things, and you start hearing things that are red flags. You kind of start saying, you know what, sometimes you kind of have to tell people, like, you're looking to do business this way. I'm not that type of insurance agent.
right, yeah,
Like, I
yep,
I, I can refer you to somebody else, or you can look for another company
yeah,
somewhere else. But that
yeah.
but that took me maybe 5 or 6 years to get to that point.
Hmm. Yeah, one of my original mentors, he was one of my first customers. It was a motorcycle place that worked on street bikes and stuff, and they had like a salon, like a barber shop in the front. It was a cool vibe. But he told me the hardest thing in business is we get and being in business for yourself is asking for money. Don't ever be afraid to ask people for what you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And that resonated with me, but I was like, yeah, but I'm starting out. Who's going to give me a shot? Who's going to take me seriously? Like I'm a kid in my mind with no education that started a business. And like, but that's like the old way of thinking, like we become our worst critics and inside of it.
Yeah.
We think we can't do it because we don't have a college degree. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
millions of dollars in debt, or which I exaggerate, but I learned to trade, so I didn't start out with any debt. I'm a tradesman, so I learned by doing. I was a grunt for many years. I was a attic rat. I was a, a gopher, all of the terms you can think of as a new guy. But that's how I learned, and eventually I learned why I was doing the things I was doing, and it made sense. And that's, you know, that that's a career path that I took. But to think that I could do it on my own, I had to really break that mindset of like, yeah, I think I can do it. And really having a strong woman in my life believing in me was like literally the jump off for me.
Yep.
Like she's super ride or die. She doesn't get nervous. She doesn't get scared. She's stronger than me. She's way prettier than me. And she supports she supports me in a way that's behind the scenes that makes me feel like I can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
And that's
I,
that's
I'll
really what
I'll second that,
that's
man. I'll
that's my
second that.
that's the secret sauce, man. You have to have a good woman in your life, or spouse in your life that believes in you.
Yep,
And
I'll
that's
second that. The same thing happened to me where as far as when I started my insurance business, like the only reason why I kept on going is because, my wife supported me even in those hard moments. Like I said, sometimes
Mhm.
you didn't even get a paycheck because you had so many policies that canceled on you. And
Mhm.
in the insurance world, when your people cancel on you, there's chargebacks on premium
Oh
and
yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
So, there was sometimes that were just super tight, but like not only that, but like I'll say this, for us, having our foundation and grounded by God,
Hmm.
my God, like sometimes, God slapped us in the face just to remind us like, hey, I'm still here and supporting you guys and your
Hmm.
little family and your little journey.
Yeah.
And man, I can tell you stories about me and my wife have never fought about money. I'll tell you that. We fought about
Yeah.
other dumb things like where do you want to go eat type of
Yeah.
situations. We'll fight about that, but we
Yeah.
have never actually fought about money. Like that's
Yeah.
that's something that we talk about all the time. Is like why do we fight about like did you take
Hmm.
out the trash? Like did you
Yeah.
not? Like
It's the yeah.
but
I think
finances
because we
has
set
never
the
been an
bar.
issue.
You set the bar for I for me, like I set the bar high. Sometimes she catches me slipping. Like I greet her when she comes home. I go outside no matter what I'm doing. I don't let her get gas for by herself. I get gas for her. Um, I greet her in the morning with coffee, usually. And she'll do the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just certain things that it's just because I have a servant's heart for my wife, and because she takes good care of everyone, and there's so many people that she takes care of. Like it's literally the least I can do before I disappear into a job site and go get distracted by work and get overwhelmed. Like the little things, I think those are super important to let her be who she needs to be and wants to be. And so she has a way gnarlier job than me. She's, being full-time mom, taking care of her mom and her dad and we have 5 dogs, it's a full-time gig, man. So if
Mm-hmm.
I can set the tone, but sometimes she'd be like, and it crushes me. She's like, I had to get gas today. And I'm like, oh,
You know what?
I'm sorry.
She
Like
took she took
she's like,
my
don't
truck.
be sorry.
She took
Like,
my truck today, and she had to put gas today in it too.
ooh. That's one thing. She doesn't drive my vehicle. She will not do it. That's not. I don't care if she drives it, but she likes her vehicle. But she's never driven this truck. She never drove the truck before. In fact, the only time I can ever really remember her driving something was when in the band days, when I was not well enough at the end of the night to drive home, and she drove my giant. I had a 1999 Ford Expedition with a 13-inch lift on it and 38-inch tires. And, remember Parnelli Jones? Those were the tires that was on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just bougie truck, goofy truck. And so I remember her driving that home, but she won't drive my Tundra at all. She's like, it's beneath her, I guess.
I
She likes
guess.
her vehicle.
What does she drive?
She has an Infiniti QX80.
Oh, she likes that smooth
Yeah.
ride.
She she's she likes what she likes, it's
Yeah.
fine.
All
But it
right.
is smooth. I actually I think because my truck is set up for off like suspension.
It's a little bit stiff.
So it's no, it's meant to go really fast in the desert.
Okay.
So it handles the street really well too. I think it's smoother than hers.
Okay.
But can't tell your wife that your car is better because she can't be told. She can't be told.
Yeah.
But no, that she's really remarkable human. Like I don't know. I don't really know where I would be. Uh I when we first got married, I was still like it still felt like I was living with in the twilight zone. Like, wow, I have a wife and she goes to work and I go to work and we come home and we figure out dinner. And like I didn't grow up until I was probably mid 30s. Uh, and that was
Oh,
I think most men's
I
brains
understand.
don't either.
Nope.
Yeah.
I understand
Like
that.
she handled the money in the beginning. I just went to work and my paycheck showed up in the bank and now she doesn't I handle everything. I don't she wants to be doing what she's doing. And we have a real estate investing business together too. Um, but most of the time she's just taking she's being a wife and a mom and a servant to everyone she loves. And that's awesome. That's the life that she wants. I want
Yeah.
to give that to her. So I'll do whatever that takes. I mean, that's life is short, man.
Yep.
We get caught up. Like you asked me, I know this whole started about how was your day? That was my answer, bro. Like
Hey, no, no.
circling,
This is a great
circling back.
start. This is I believe this is a great start to this podcast because people need to understand that we are regular humans.
Yeah,
Like we are not these celebrities. We are not well-known people to the world or anything like that. And I think we want to make this as relatable as possible. We have families. We have jobs. We have dogs. We have
Mhm.
hobbies and interests. And so in the topics that we will talk about as we're doing these podcasts, they're going to be from and if you can hear it, probably my kid's yelling in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but he's
No,
yelling in the background.
I couldn't hear it,
Oh,
man.
then the noise gate's working, so that's good.
Yeah, no, it's dead silent. I can hear like it's like studio in here now. I feel like I could bust
Good,
in the
good.
song.
So back to what I was saying is like I think this like what we're trying to deliver is down to earth opinions and views.
For
Nothing
sure.
that's super elevated, that's
Yeah.
super politicized, left or right.
Yeah.
This is just straight up raw and real, either reactions or opinions of whatever's going on in our lives or in the world. So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna deliver there. So
Yeah. I appreciate that you as my friend is that would someone else willing to take that approach without being like, you know, controversial and heated battles about, I don't, man, that's not if you're passionate about something and you're my friend, I'm stoked for you. It may not be my thing, but I'm gonna be stoked for you because you're passionate about it. I'm not gonna, you know, take a proverbial dump on it. Like
right,
it's something that brings you joy and your belief system too. I mean, obviously we share the same beliefs, but um, even if we didn't, I don't think that would interrupt our friendship.
yep,
It wouldn't cause a problem, and that's kind of who I am as a person. I just was raised to treat people with open arms and respect. It doesn't mean that we're going to be the best pals if it's not cool with you, but like, I'm saying it in general with other
yeah,
people. But that's okay. I mean, we're not going to be for everybody, and that's okay too. But I think we'll identify with a lot of dudes that or women that are interested in what we had to say, and that's cool.
yep.
And in the meantime, we'll have fun doing it. Like
I'm
it's a
having a
win.
I'm having a blast right now just because like I'm listening to you also and hearing just different layers of probably stuff that we probably never talked about to each other yet. And
Right,
I think that's why, like I said, this is going to be a real podcast. It's not going to be,
for sure,
yeah, we'll have some direction in the conversations, but again, it's just straight up real.
for sure. No, and I think we're from the musician's background, we're used to kind of
Being
taking things on the
genuine.
fly. Like we didn't talk about anything what we were going to talk about tonight.
Sure did it.
We didn't have this. This wasn't pre-planned. Um, we just had a desire to try a podcast together, and so here we are. every time I've ever talked to you, it's always been an interesting conversation. It's never a fast conversation.
Right.
Even if it's genuinely probably could have been, it's like there's something there where we just enjoy talking to each other. And so why not put that on a podcast where we can, talk to the other people or want to listen, and give us their time. I mean, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody. And I think that's one of the highest forms of respect you
Right.
can give someone as a friend is time, because it's time is precious.
It really
Time is
is.
short, and that's the old school. My mother was full-blooded Italian, and
Mm.
she used to tell me all the time that, you know, you can give people gifts, you can give people things, but time is really where that's the good stuff. Because if you make time for someone, that means the most, and that stuck with me. So
I like that.
gestures of time is like
Yeah, I
one of
like
the
that.
highest forms of respect you can give somebody.
That's a merch idea already right there.
For real, you should, man. Yeah, yeah. Like this is probably time for another podcast, but this whole sleeve was dedicated to Time Waits for No One, and it has my mother's when she passed away, but her birthday was 11/14, so the clock is pointing to 11/14. This is the little boy climbing the stairs. Represents my mom always told me to keep climbing, never look back, just
Mm-hmm.
keep going. Her name was Rose.
Love it.
This is the hourglass, the compass, moral compass in life to not get lost, and shattered clock is the kind of a theme. I That's the big piece that I got done by a good friend of mine here in town at Ritual Addiction. Prince is our artist on that.
Where's that tattoo shop?
They're on 67th and Glendale.
60. Is
Rochelle is the owner. She's a
that Old
piercer.
Town Glendale?
No, no, they're like on the fringe of Glendale, like 67th and Glendale, kind of like right by. There's a Family Dollar and a QT right there.
Mm.
Prince is great. He focuses more on if you check out his Instagram, he focuses more on like horror and
You know what?
uh
I've seen his work before
yeah.
on
Like if you look
Instagram.
at oh, it's fantastic. If you look at Rochelle, her entire body is covered in like horror pieces. Um, and it's just fantastic work. She's got pretty much I want to say maybe 85% of her body covered, maybe minus her back. But I think that's gonna happen one of these days. But
Wait, did
they're
you
good
say that
people.
the tattoo artist is a male or female?
Prince, he's a dude.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Because
his name's Prince.
I reached out to him. I want to say pre-COVID shutdowns, and I was trying to get an arm piece done too. I yet to have more ink other than this one where it says "I love her."
Oh, that's fun.
Me and my wife got matching, tattoos.
Nice. Yeah.
To be honest, my wife's more tatted up than me, but I want
Mine
more.
too.
I want more, but honestly, I think I've been patient. I just don't want to go
Yeah,
and get, you know, the little random machine where you stick the coin in and then just get
I
something
did that.
random.
I uh
That's not
I
me.
my first tattoo, I was with the boys on tour, California, and I got remember the independent cross, the
Yeah, yeah,
independent.
yeah.
I got like a Celtic version up here. This upper piece is a cover up. You can't see it anymore. And same thing with this side. And then I got a portrait of my daughter's face on my chest. And then 2 weeks later, I ran a half marathon with a friend, and my camel pack wore off her whole entire face.
Oh
So it's just a
man.
pair of eyes, and it looks. I'm used to it now, and I really do want to get it covered up.
Yeah,
But that was the most sensitive
yeah.
tattoo that I have this goes all the way into my armpit.
Okay.
That wasn't nearly as bad as my chest. Then again, at the time, I probably just didn't have that. I didn't expect that because like she's tattooing around the nipple and stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
man, there's so many nerves right there. Like your toenails want to fly across the room. They just feel like they're gonna pop off. But I want to get some more work done too.
Yeah,
My wife's super tatted up. She's all flowers though. She has a million different variants of flowers
that's
all
cool
over her
though.
body. Yeah, she
Yeah,
had
I'm
some
I'm
like
just waiting for the right design and the right moment to till I just want to make sure that I'm like mentally prepared because it's like it's a lifelong decision. So
yeah. Yeah, I thought about doing something. I do like the Viking culture. I thought about doing this arm in some sort of like a Viking style. and I had a whole thing drawn up for it, or the whole vibe, and I just all of a sudden I just wasn't feeling it anymore.
Hmm.
I was like, I'll just not. I'll just wait
Like
because I
I
mean
definitely
this,
want to get a piece for my kids. I have three
yeah,
kids, so I want to do a piece for that. I definitely want to do a piece. Other than this small tattoo, I want something larger for my wife because she's been literally one of the biggest, pieces of my life. You know, especially in my
yeah.
me being a man. Like it's really has defined me a lot. Like
They make us,
being a husband. It's not
yeah.
an easy job. You know, being a father, that's not an easy job either. You know, like
Well, the crazy part is about women and the women that love us is that they're not afraid to check us.
right.
And that's okay. Like I need to be checked sometimes. I'm wild, man. I say crazy shit sometimes. But I don't mean to. It's just
Yep.
who
No,
I
I
just
got
have
you.
that. I don't say things to be hurtful, but I say things before thinking about them, as most men do.
Yep.
And then I can't take it back. It's the whole toothpaste, thing about squeezing the toothpaste out. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube
Yep.
after you. So, that's she's the only person in this world really that could, my mom's passed away now, but that could really give me a look, and I'm like, I gotta stop tripping. Uh, you know,
It's like
last
I'm
night,
not mad at you. I'm just disappointed at you.
yeah, like last night we were at a restaurant for a friend's birthday party, and they're gamers, so they have they're kind of they're like hermits. We joke with Abed, is this guy name's Abed, and he's still single, and he always jokes about dying alone, because he doesn't have much games. It takes to himself. So the waitress walks by, and I said, "Hey, are you single?" Joking around, and I fell aside of my face, melting. My wife was like, "Don't." She leaned in. She was like, that was so unnecessary. I'm like, I'm just kidding. She's like, you could see it in her face, so it was really uncomfortable. She's married, and I'm like, yeah, but I saw it, and I even told her I saw it. I know that you're married, but he couldn't see. I was trying to embarrass my friend. Apologies to that. I wasn't trying to be
Yeah.
rude, and she thought it was funny. 85% of the table thought it was funny. Now I'm the wife.
Yeah.
That's a failure, So I get it. I mean, we get checked sometimes, man. Like that's the short story of it is what it is. I don't mean to. I tell her all the time, I can't always be hilarious. I have to fail sometimes. And
Yeah.
I kind of play it off where I was just trying to be
You just
funny.
gave it a little bit too much throttle.
I put a little too much juice on it. It's a little too soon. I don't know. To
Nah.
me at the time, I'm like, that's hilarious. I should say that. Definitely say that. That's funny.
It
And
was
then
a
I say it
spur
and
of the
I'm like,
moment. That's what it was.
yeah, I say it and I was like, uh, I'm having trouble now, aren't
Think,
I? Shouldn't have said
yeah.
that.
So I'll tell you a story. Hopefully my sister-in-law doesn't see this. 'Cause all right, so it's Christmas and kids are opening up their Christmas gifts, and one of my nephews is we gave him a bottle of Curve. Like have you ever owned a bottle of Curve when you were growing up?
Is that
The
like
cologne.
body spray?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
cologne. So
I've seen it.
I owned it when I was maybe
I
15,
I
16,
was a
17.
Drakkar guy
Yeah.
myself.
So I bought it for him, and then when I bought it, like I told the wife, well, this literally makes a girl's drip, basically.
Dang.
Like I mean, at least back in my day, like that was
Yeah,
it was a joke.
yeah.
And
Got
so
that pheromone in it.
yeah, so he's opening it up in the at my mother-in-law's house, and then my wife makes a cleaner version of it. She's like, yeah, it makes it really gets the girls going, and then I
Yeah,
took it another level. I said basically what I told her,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah,
that one makes a girls.
yeah. That's
and
the
and her sister just like gave me like the meanest, craziest eyes. And at the moment, I didn't think about it. You know what I mean? It was just a
yeah,
joke. It was just a joke. But later, now that I thought about it, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Like,
yeah.
I felt the conviction.
Well, like this little kid that some of our closest friends that we have a real estate business together. We hang out, we see them, we do family dinners every Friday, and then their kiddo's just now turning 4. So uh, last Friday night we went to dinner, and I always thought this joke was funny. As I'm like a professional uncle, I've had so many nieces and nephews. Um, so I leaned over to her and told her the joke about the bear and the rabbit pooping in the woods. Well, the funny part about this kid is like once she got the joke, she would not stop telling it, and it was funny every time. And I'm sure you heard the joke. It's a dumb dad joke, but have you heard this joke?
Uh,
The
Probably
bear,
not.
the bear. So there's a bear and a
All right.
rabbit pooping in the woods, and the bear leans over to the rabbit and says, "Hey, do you have problems with poop sticking to your fur?" And the rabbit says, "No." So the bear picks up the rabbit, wipes his butt with it. And so,
Definitely
yeah,
a dad joke.
total dad joke. 4-year-old is kind of like poop jokes are hilarious, fart jokes, all that. So this kid was
I know
like,
you send them all the time on Instagram, brother.
"Oh," and yeah. So she was like ecstatic, and she kept telling the joke, but she's telling it wrong, which is making it even funnier. But she was like determined to get it right. So my wife's like, you know what's gonna happen is they're gonna get a call from the school and be like, this kid will not stop telling a joke about a bear
Poop.
and a rabbit pooping in the woods, and it's your fault. You're gonna have to go to that meeting. And I'm like, you're right, but that's hilarious. Because I somebody told me that joke when I was little. I think that's an old Eddie Murphy joke, actually. And it's a little bit, spiced up from Eddie Murphy, but it's that joke has always stuck with me. It's always been a banger. Like it's always for
Yeah.
kids that think poop. I mean, who doesn't think that's funny as a kid?
Yeah.
Probably because we weren't really, you weren't allowed to talk like that. So when you heard it, you were like, "Oh, that's hilarious. Someone's identifying with what I think's funny."
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's when your teacher like to kind of like get the kids like be on the cool side. Let's drop the D word. Say damn in front of you, or
Yeah.
you know, like
I'm like, oh, Mr. Smith's
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Mine was Mr. Scarsiga growing up. He dropped it a few times, like
Yeah.
or what the hell, like just
Yeah.
something like off the cuff, like, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, he's so cool.
My science teacher was like that. We could walk in and just out of nowhere be like, sock check, fool. And he would pull up his giant, like, like super striped socks, and he'd always have them pulled up because we used to get him hard time because sometimes he'd wear shorts and he'd have his socks disappear up into his shorts. So we were always like, that guy is super down. He's always down. He's like the whitest dude in the
Yeah,
world. But we always like everybody like sock check, and they'd sock check him all the time in the hallway. He got off on it. He thought it was hilarious.
that's
But
so funny.
yeah, man. So yeah, I'm sure I'll crack some more dad jokes.
Hey, we're dads here, so I need ammunition for my young kids. So you've been around the block a few times, so I need some of that wisdom.
Well, that's a story for another podcast. I'm having a kid pop up, 25 years later that I didn't know about.
Oh, okay.
Did I tell you that story?
No, no,
Oh man. All right. Well, maybe it's a story for now.
go for it.
So I got was it 2 years ago now?
Okay.
I got a message on Facebook Messenger. It went to my like attempted messages and I didn't
Right,
see it.
right.
And so I didn't see it. It was on Father's Day. And so some time went by and then this lady messaged my wife on Facebook and she happened to see such and such is trying to reach you. Check this folder. So she opens this message and this is at night. We're going to sleep. She wakes me up in the morning with coffee and she's cheery. She's like, normally doesn't talk, much. She's different. I like kind of looking at her, I was like, what's up with you? And she's like, well, got a message late last night. I didn't want to wake you, but this girl messaged me named so and so. And I was like, okay. Uh, and she's like, I figured like she's a friend from high school trying to sell. So she's, like, hey girl, they pop up, they're trying to sell you something. And she's like, well, apparently you have a son that's 25 and he's ready to meet you. And I looked at her and I was like, what are you talking about? Have a son. And she's like, yeah, she said she messaged you a few days ago and you haven't seen it yet. So I sit up and I open my phone and I look and I was like, I do have a message from somebody. I was like reading it and it said, hey, so and so is 25 now. he's ready to meet you. Here's his number. Reach out when you're ready. I was like, man, I'm ready right now. Let's figure this out, dog.
Right.
So I call this number as I'm telling you the story. I call this number. I start chatting with this guy on the phone, and he looks he has the same mannerisms. He has like on the phone. He sounds like a young version of me. It's really strange.
Yeah.
And so we're chopping it up. We're chopping it up. And I was like, dude, where did you grow up? He's like, I grew up like basically in North Phoenix, where you grew up. Like I knew all the people you skateboarded with. I still know those people. I've always known about you my whole life. And I was like, so you're in town. Like, let me, like, where are you at? He's like, well, I live in like up off of Carefree Highway. So I drove up there right away. Told Carrie, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go meet this kid.
Yeah.
So I pull up and we start talking. And as soon as I see him, I'm like, holy crap, dude. So I see this kid and he's like, I've waited such a long time to meet you. And I'm like, why did you wait so long? And why didn't I never know about you? Like, it's sad.
Right.
And he's like, I didn't think you'd want me. And I was like, I immediately teared up because I was
Yeah.
like, dude, that's heartbreaking. Like, of course I would have wanted you. Had I known you existed, uh, I would have been there for you. All these years, all these missed birthdays, all these things, being a boy,
Yeah.
growing up, you probably had questions about how you feel. Like, you're my blood. Like, I'm so annoyed that the mom, and later on, she told me that she just felt like she was doing the right thing and didn't think because I was coming off the road
Mm-hmm.
from a tour, the band, and I was at a house party when I met this girl. That's a like not a story that like I'm proud of, but it was one of those things where you meet somebody for a couple minutes and you never see them again. And it was just that was literally that. And um, I had no idea, man. Like I had no idea. Um, so yeah, it was sad. But so at the end of this was the first time we met. Oh, I just shrunk it down by accident. 1 second, let me find it again.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
the first time,
that's crazy, man. I kind of jokingly or like say stuff like that. It's like there could be somebody out there. I don't know. My wife kind of, and we've kind of talked about it. If something was to ever pop up and the kid's like 20 years old,
yeah,
at this point, it's like kind of like in your situation. Like I would have loved to know that you were there. you
yeah,
know,
dude. So this was let me get my face out of the. Oh, hold on, I got to turn down the.
it's kind of blown out.
Yeah, let me turn down the brightness here. Um, I just caught that. Sorry, I had to go to the back to the beginning of my messages. Try that again.
Dude, that's like your twin.
Isn't that crazy?
That's your twin, brother.
And
Wow.
he's such a cool kid, man. He's a really good, he's 27 now.
Uh huh.
He actually worked at Nate's restaurant for a minute and he's moved on to other stuff. And uh, it's he asked me that day, is it okay if I call you dad? And I was like, of course, dude. Like that's gonna obviously am internalizing. That's gonna take a lot for me to. I have to fast forward time now and realize that I have a son. Like I didn't know about it, but he's like, I've been waiting a long time to do that, and like tears up, and I tear up, and it was a real emotional
Yeah, I
moment.
bet.
And learning learning to you're meeting an adult for the first time. And what bummed me out the most about that was like I didn't like his mom and grandparents did a really good job raising him. Uh, he's a good kid. He's solid. He doesn't have any um, issues that somebody at that age would have. No, he's not a drug guy. He's not a partier. He's got a
Mm-hmm.
good head on his shoulders. He's a fantastic skateboarder, badass musician. Like he does all of the hobbies that I've ever been into. He's done motorcycle, dirt bikes, skateboarding, way better than I ever was. Still wins competitions, goes and smokes everybody.
That's
Like
awesome.
yeah. So, the hardest part for me is kind of having to forgive the mom. I don't have any ill will, but I wish I would have got a shot. I think that bothers me the most. But I don't
That's
know. Maybe
that's
I wasn't
understandable.
ready. Maybe I was God looking out for me. Um, but I still would have liked a shot, man. Even if I let me fail, give me a chance to fail. Like give me a chance. Like I'm a father that wanted to be a father. You know, Carrie and I tried for 4 years to have our kid. We did in vitro 4 times. We
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to be parents. So that hit home with me. Like, well, you're here now, and.
Mm-hmm.
And she messaged me. She was like, "I'm so happy you guys have hit it off, and I'm sorry I didn't handle things the right way, and I felt like I was doing the best I for my kid at the time, and I've got him this far, and hopefully that you'll have another 25 years with him." And I'm just like, okay, like I mean, what I can't get upset. I
Yeah.
have to I have to accept that. But I've told him we had like it's weird having an adult conversation with your son, like, hey man, this bothers me because I really wanted to be I really would have made every attempt to be in your life,
Yeah.
like 100%. Um, but we've hung out quite a bit, man, since then. He plays in I gave him my first I gave him he was a bass player in some like super crazy band. That's the first bass I gave him to play.
That's cool.
They were playing in like a oh, what's it called? Super angry music, like deathcore,
Metalcore band.
metalcore band. Yeah. He's moved on. He's actually writes music now and stuff. So yeah, that's my pop-up kid, man. So
Jeez, that's
I have two kids, which I admittedly still have to remind myself, man. It's new to me. Like it's new to me, and
so.
every now
How when did this happen? I'm not sure if I caught
so
it.
oh, you mean like when he
When
was
you
born?
guys met? No, when you guys met.
Oh, so we met 2 years ago.
Okay, so this was 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, probably 18 months, 2 years ago. Yeah, it was around whatever Father's Day
I
was.
mean, it's still new. It's still
It's
fresh.
new. It's
It's
new.
still fresh.
It's new, man. And like we've gone on vacations together. We've done family events together. We were meeting up every Sunday. He'd come over here and we'd jam, and I would play drums or play music or sing or whatever. We bond that way. He's into golf. I golf. So right now he's like off social media. He's off like kind of just doing his thing.
Yeah.
And being a kid, like, but he's really a good kid. Like he turned out like I probably, I would hope that I would have done the same job, I could say, because
Yeah.
I have the same ambitions for my kid, now I want, I want that person to turn out to be a respectable human,
Yep. Exactly.
like that's all I can ask for is just be a good person, man. Like, you don't have to be for everybody, you know, people will find us annoying, I'm sure, and people will find us cool, and that's fine too. Like
Yep.
it's it is life, man. You can't
Man,
can't
that's powerful right there, man. I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that. Just
yeah. I thought I told you that.
no,
I
no, no, no.
I've probably thought I've told you a lot of stories, but because we were going to be doing the podcast, I'm like, I should save that for the podcast. And I think I've said it to you a few times. Oh, I don't want to tell you that story. I want to wait till
You
because
have
that's
said
probably what
that. You
happened.
have said
But
that,
that's a banger. That's a big one.
dude. I
That's
mean, that's
a
a huge reveal right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I also when I met him, he was in the process of going through a breakup, like his first. I think it was like his real first love.
That's
We met the
hard.
girl and everything, and it really. I was really he even told me he goes, I really feel like this happened for a reason, meeting you when I did because I needed those words from you, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing. I just know how to have empathy for people, and I care about people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of life experiences, man, and
Yeah.
that's all I'm offering is stuff that I've been through. I've been through these horrible relationships with people before I met my wife, man. That's oof. I did not think that I would find somebody that would stick around or that could be
Well,
trusted or you
well,
know.
I think you said it. You said it earlier. Like God probably held this relationship off till it
Mhm.
was perfect,
Yeah.
because you know started off in not the best situation, like you said, you just met this girl, spent 15 minutes with her, and then
Let's be fair. It was 2 minutes.
let's just whatever, however long it was,
I'll tell you the whole story off the podcast.
All right,
It's
but
not a
you know,
proud moment.
but God, just waited for the both of you to be ready.
Yeah, yeah,
There's that saying that God doesn't give you what you can't hold on to.
yeah,
Yeah, can't put on that much weight that you can't support on yourself.
yeah. And
God,
I really didn't grow up until much later in life. So I don't think I would have been able to be the person. I mean, I know I wouldn't have been able to be the person I am now.
yeah,
I didn't even know this version of me. This took the person you're talking to has lost his brother to cancer, lost his nephew to drunk driving, his mother to cancer, his nieces were killed. Like I've been through a lot of stuff
mm-hmm,
and lost a lot of people. So it's made me the kind of person I am through sadness, really. And I just choose to be happy. In fact, one of the last conversations I had with my mom, she died the next day. And I sat in her bed, and this was when she died in 2016, and she was always worried about me and my business, and wanted to make sure we were okay financially. And she always did. The reason I didn't grow up till I was 35 was she's a full-blooded Italian mom, and she was gonna always try to take care of us, and so she did. That was her life's. She did that for everybody that met
mm-hmm.
her. But I sat in her bed and held her hand, and she's like, "Your business is good." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's good." And she's like, "Good." And she's like, "You're doing okay financially?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine." Yeah, we were, man. We were in the middle of a horrible project. We were, they were way behind on our payments. Well, we were. What am I gonna say? And so she tells me, because she, being a strong Christian woman, she used to say that when you die, you're no longer here. And I don't know if she had a couple of epiphanies or what, but this was before she started her transition and framing in the past. But she told me that I believe that if you stay happy in this life, that God will let me see your see, I'm trying not to get emotional. God will let me see your success, and I'll be with you always. And so I don't ever want you to be sad. I want you to be a good man, and to the people that love you. And I believe I'll be able to see that. And so whether it's true or not, it's something that I keep with me, because that's really I think a really good way to be, is just be happy.
Yep.
Treat people well, be happy. And there's a lot of BS and anger. We get caught up being mad at what? You know what I mean? Like,
Wasted
is it
energy,
worth
wasted
it?
time.
Yeah, just don't mess with it. If it brings you anger, man, let it go. Like that one lady that used to clean a drawer out. If it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. Same thing, man. That's a really hard story for me to tell, because those were literally like the next day. I was standing with my mom, uh, she was laying in bed, and literally watched her life just like go, like it was gnarly. It was eyes open, just heavy.
Yeah.
And um, that was one of the first songs. Nate came back out of the shadows of music and said, "Let's rewrite the song that you wrote for your dad passing away." So we rewrote the song called "Why," and I changed the lyrics to beat my mom. He came over here, sat right here with the stuff, and I stood over there, and we laid it down. And that's that song that I think I shared with you on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We laid that down in 2017. So, and it came out great. He had a friend in another band. I think it was a pretty famous band. He would know the names. He knows so many people. He mixed it for us. Gosh, I can't think of the name. He was Back from Ashes. Does that sound right? No, that's a big, big band. But
I know
it
Back
was
from Ashes. I know the singer Jason and Mikey the guitarist.
no.
But I
I
don't think
think I
they.
just messed. I butchered that. We'd have to surprise call Nate and get him on the phone.
All right.
But yeah, no, it was somebody that knew somebody, and they took it and did some magic to it and gave it back to us. But that was like a therapy thing,
Mm-hmm.
for me to have that. The goal was to rewrite the entire album, and I still would love to do that. It's just, like you said, man, time. It's how do we do that? How do we get everybody in the same room? Jam Kazam is a great app, but it's hard to get drums like live drums on that. You'd almost Wade would have to take a back seat,
Mm-hmm.
just play on his chest, like he's there.
No, well, that I think once we kind of get there's, I'm sure things are gonna get better, and we'll find the time. So,
Yeah, man. No,
uh,
I've been wanting to do this. Like, there's no reason why we can't do it, and I've been wanting to try it. I mean, you gotta have a podcast buddy, And so I think we'll riff off that, and
mm-hmm.
that's the journey, man. We'll look back on this podcast in a year and go like, man,
This was the beginning.
remember those were the days. We had that junk camera, junky mics, even though it's not. It's
Or-
all good stuff.
no, yeah, no. I think we're gonna look back at this, and I'm glad that we're kind of responding to ourselves from a year
Yeah,
from now.
yeah,
Like to look back and kind of one look at the connections that we've made, and hopefully people that we've reached out to and touched by our conversations. Hopefully that's the fruit of it. Like
yeah,
hopefully that there's something that connects with somebody out there. Let it be something funny that we said, or like something
yeah,
powerful like you just shared. Like there's
yeah,
millions of people out there
yeah.
that
I'm a pretty emotional dude. And I think there's like, man, that's one thing that I would love to talk about. Like, you can be a masculine dude, but be emotional, and
yeah.
I think that helps me really connect with my family, with my wife, with people I love and I work with, and in general, just being a friend. Like, normalizing emotions for dudes I think is important, man. Like,
Yeah.
I come from the give you something to cry about while you're crying phase, and that's not who I want to be to my family, to my kids,
Yeah.
and to anybody. So like having a moment with somebody, being vulnerable, dude, like as a dude, is I think it has a little impact to let people know it's cool, man. It's total. There's nothing wrong with being men and being emotional,
Mm-hmm.
especially as life is not always hilarious, but that's the goal. The goal is to have a good time, but for lack of better terms, shit can get heavy sometimes,
It really
man.
does. It
You
really does.
know, it can get real, and leaning on good friends like you, man, and leaning on each other as brothers, and growing our friendship through media, which is cool with me. I know we have our name already said. I don't know if you want to say it yet, but that to me like kind of solidifies what we're doing.
Yep.
Like we're just we're just two of those two dudes hanging out, and it doesn't have to be like heavy editing or hilarious content, just bangers one after another.
Right.
We can have a little bit of, and just as long as it stays interesting, it's interesting to us. And if you could carry a conversation, uh, you know, with other people, we can get a lot of interesting folks on here, man. I'm sometimes too. You got to stop me. I talk a lot because I get
No,
excited.
I
Or
think that
that's the Italian in me, man.
no, I think this was perfect. A perfect intro, a perfect start to our podcast. I said it early ago. This is the real deal,
Yeah,
and I want to say to the for any of the viewers that have made it this long to our I think hour and a half conversation, that have made it through the different topics that we talked about. What was your favorite part? I want to hear it down in the comments, and we'll respond to it. That easy. We want to react. We want to hear what you connected with, and keep it real. So
yeah. Be nice.
yeah,
Keep it real.
be nice and keep it real.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that'll do it for our first podcast, and hope you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for us. It's free to do. It doesn't cost a thing, and it'll show us that you guys are engaged. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Do good for no reason.
I like that. Thank you, guys.